Everyone, welcome back to the Football Uncensored podcast with me, Rob Kirton, and of course John Sitton. We've had apologies, we had a few weeks break, work commitments, etc., etc. Can't do anything about that. Unfortunately, we've got to earn a living. Obviously, we've missed a fair bit. We've got a lot to catch up on. We'll try our best over this episode and maybe another to do just that. John, how are you?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, not bad, Rob. Yeah. There was that thing and a little bit of a hiatus, but you had that funny thing where there was only a few fixtures and some rested and then the others played while the others rested. So it was a bit of a funny schedule.
Yeah, I think
but like you say, there's a lot gone on. Yeah, a lot gone on with the FA Cup, a lot gone on with the league, a lot gone on with disciplinary matters at one club and someone leaving at another, blah, blah, blah. Ask me what you want, mate. We'll crack on.
Yeah, where do we start, Frank? Where do we start? Like you say,
where you say we start. It's up to you.
Okay, well let's start with a very positive story. Let's start with the FA Cup, the magic of the FA Cup. Let's start with Maidstone. They've qualified for the 5th round, and they are non-league. I'm not sure whether they're national or national regional, but Maidstone have qualified for the 5th round of the FA Cup. Not got the money spinning draw. I think they're away to Sheffield Wednesday or Coventry, but either way, they're through, and let's celebrate that.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it. I mean, you've got this sort of theory with regards to the gap getting bigger. I'll be honest, I think the opposite. It depends how you spend your money. It depends how the clubs run. It depends, obviously, on the players, but not only that, how the players are coached. And I thought it was really a magnificent performance. Am I right in remembering it was Ipswich?
They did. They won. It was away as well, not just Ipswich. Away.
Everything wrong. They got everything wrong. You know what I mean? What you've got to do, you've got to try and basically quieten everything down. And then in most cases, I mean, I was involved in a couple of upsets, but the problem was the main one, it was over 2 legs. So we got a good hiding in the second one against Spurs. But you've got to do your best to, if you're the bigger team, and the boot was on the other foot when I was in the side, and it was one of the very poor games I had at Chelsea, which was Plymouth at home in the League Cup. And you got to do stuff to basically dampen it down, quieten it down. You know what I mean? Slow it down, play the game at your pace, keep things tight, keep it tidy, and then gradually grow into the game by upping the tempo. And then your superior, one assumes what should happen, your full-time commitment to fitness and technique and drills and organisation, and supposedly players with better ability, that should come to the fore. But on this occasion it didn't, because I couldn't make out why it is. You had Maidstone defending magnificently in numbers, and then they hit Ipswich on the break. You thought they would have learned after a couple of scares, and I think maybe one of the goals, you think to yourself, it's like I said before, you can be compact and have possession and remain compact, and the coach or the manager or the captain or teammates around the people, you've got to keep giving them little reminders. And I always remember coming up against Pat Rice, and he was always probably saying, passed on down from George Graham, always giving the centre backs little reminders. Just stay alert, keep concentrate. It's coming back at you. Be ready. And you do these little things, and you remember it being vocalised to oneself as a player. And to me, it didn't look the case. They're just like they're all up the field. Maidstone played out, bump, and then it's in the back of the net. And I thought, after I think it was one of the goals, and most certainly a scare, they should have taken heed of that and maybe stay compact. But as soon as you lose the ball, it's about your recovery runs and getting back behind the ball. And I don't think Ipswich did that. not in, and they broke out in numbers, and I thought it was a fantastic performance, and I'm well pleased for the players and the manager. It was fantastic to watch.
Oh, absolutely. Like we say that, the FA Cup gets not run down, but gets degraded, devalued over the years when with the rotation, etc., of the big clubs. But
Yeah, yeah.
you touch on a little bit on the stats there. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to look at them here. That it was 78 possession to 22% possession, 38 shots to 2, and 11 to 0 corners, and Maidstone 1-2-1. You know, how good's that?
Yeah, you can't. I'll tell you one thing: you can't doubt is their resilience, and it's what I've always said. If you go out there and the teams which they showed they were organised, fit, and motivated, it's amazing what you can achieve. And it's a message I always tried to convey. They're the 3 minimum prerequisites: fit, organised, motivated, and it prevailed. In the end, it prevailed. What I will say is, it's above the league, slightly above the League Cup, although the big guns, they normally, like towards the end of the run, you get to the quarters and semis, they start putting the big guns out. And there's a date at Wembley coming up early in the month, early next month. But the bottom line is, it probably comes a third poor relation to the Premier League because of what happened with the breakaway and the money involved, and obviously the Champions League. Whereas it used to be the main sort of one of the main achievements for a player during his career was to get to Wembley and play an FA Cup final. I remember as a kid watching it from 10 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? But it's still, like you say, it's still got that little bit. It's still, when things like this happen, that little bit of magic. Yeah. So
Absolutely. Let's hope they can. Let's hope they can continue. You mentioned it there. The first final of the season has been decided, and just to make it clear from the start, we're not going to go at this stage down the rabbit warren of CFC, Chelsea FC, well, because that's quite a hot topic to talk about. But the first final has been decided, and it is Chelsea versus Liverpool in the, I believe I'm correct in saying, the Football League Cup final these days. They may have got there by different routes, but fact of the matter is they're both in a Wembley Cup final. I would say I don't think it's a direct route into Europe these days. It's subject to a league position, but the fact of the matter is they're both there. They both qualified to get there, whether they've rotated or not. How do you see that one playing out?
Well, Chelsea could use it as a catalyst to push on. They might surprise everyone, but from the Ministry of State and the obvious again, the Liverpool, I think, are hot favourites after what I saw at the weekend. I mean, I look back to when I played. All I can say is I think there's a bit of stick being floating about, but my perception is modern day Chelsea supporters seem to be far more forgiving than they were when I played. They were I think they were, disillusioned with the way back then, the way the club was run, the way the family silver was sold off. Too many players didn't really care, or they was coming at the end of their career and didn't care, with one or two exceptions. Bad luck with injuries to some big players. Goals in the side were sold. Stevie Finiston was sold to Sheffield United. Harry Haslam actually confided in me. Harry Haslam, I was talking to Steve the other week, and Harry Haslam actually bought him. He wanted him so bad, he bought him with an injury. He actually bought him. Even though he would have failed the medical, but he just said, look, we'll get past that. You'll get over that. And he was the main source of goals in the team. Then you're looking at people who look like from the back to the front. Bennett was coming at the end of his career. John Phillips, they sold Steve Wicks. Mickey Droy was in and out the side from a kid of 19 after getting him from Slough, although probably seriously, I don't know if I'm talking out of turn, seriously undermotivated. It could have been anything. Mickey had a lot. In midfield, Ray Lewington, they let go. He was a battler. and he would earn the right to play. Ray Wilkins, who made the club tick, made the team tick, and like I said, Steve Finiston. And then after that, you're looking at people like Gary Stanley, who chipped in with goals. They sold him. If I remember rightly, I think they sold him to Everton. Kenny Swain went to Villa, became, after being a failed forward and a failed right midfield player, he became a European Cup winning fullback. So what I see is I see a lot of similarities now. The difference being a tremendous amount of money's been allocated and wasted. There's no real goals in the side. There's no focal point up front. You've got a midfield made up apart from Cole Palmer. Gallagher's having a go. Conor Gallagher's having a go, but I'll come to that. But you've got a midfield made up of headless chickens. No one really knows their role. The back three, back four, back five is in disarray. The goalkeeper's been changed about 3 times. Although I do like the look of this one, because one of the biggest assets a goalkeeper can have is his competitive edge. Disliking, hating the fact that people are allowed to get crosses and shots in. I saw him bollocking a few back 4 players or back 3 players. But you look at it, it's in total disarray, the club. So it's very, very similar to when I was there back in the mid to late 70s. The difference being a load of money's been wasted. So therefore, I've got to make Liverpool red hot favourites. And I've got them down. I think they'll win 2. I fancy them to win a couple of pots this year. I don't know whether it'll be the League Cup and the Premier League or they're in 4. So I think it'd be a nice send-off for the manager.
Yeah. No, I can't disagree, John. I think Liverpool are favourites. I'm pretty sure the bookies all agree, and the bookies are rarely wrong. That neatly moves us on to one of the major topics of January. We're trying to do a little bit of a review of January with off the pitch and on the pitch.
Yeah.
And obviously a big major piece of news is Jurgen Klopp's announcement that at the end of the season he's off. You could read more than 1 or 2 things into it. Obviously, everyone wants to hear your take on it, so over to you.
Yeah, well, I think it was very. I saw his interview. I watched it on YouTube. I think it must have been Liverpool FC TV. The background was the training ground. They was on a mezzanine and the lovely windows looking out over the training ground. He was sitting there relaxed, cross-legged, and then he became more animated as he went on. You're trying to read between the lines. I agree with him. I think it was very profound, very honest, very deep. But at the same time, it was very sort of on the surface with regards to his reasons, and much lower level. But you know what? I think most coaches and managers are like that. I remember taking a thing from what he said. I remember trying to give a lot of energy coming across. All right, some of it might have been negative energy, but giving a lot of energy, a lot of yourself to players, to backroom staff, to the running of the club, to trying to bring people together, staff meetings, brainstorming to try and come up with ideas to improve the club, the facilities at the club, the money coming in at the club. I remember me and Chris engaged in a thing where we called a meeting. So it was me and Chris Turner, football in the community, the commercial department, the secretaries, the HR department, Maureen Anshaw, who tried to have our back. And to be honest, it was tantamount to a waste of time. I remember Chris walking out laughing. We walked away from it laughing. So picking up on what he said, he said that you can't keep going to the well. And I think what it is, he says he's given so much energy. It's what his personality is based on, and his coaching identity and his managerial identity, and he seems to head and kick every ball and make every tackle, and he's a bit cute in terms of holding praise back in front of the cameras, because he wants it sort of glossed over. Like I said before in a previous podcast, you get all these others talking players up or having a pot. He's very, very mid-level, and then they go, yeah, what about this from Mo Salah, and what? And he go, yeah, well, it's what Mo does. And then it looks at the interviewer as if to say, next question, because he don't want to put a spotlight on it. He wants to go under the radar as best he can. So I think a lot of coaches, a tremendous amount of coaches and a tremendous amount of managers will be able to relate because he seems to be the fulcrum of what goes on there. Whereas at other clubs, other big clubs, dare I say it, in previous years, not so much now because you've got your Artetas on the touchline and your Guardiolas. Managers would delegate to coaching staff and maybe watch things from the side or from afar at certain training grounds. I had a scouser in the cab. I went to work Saturday. Serendipity. A geezer flagged me with a young lady. The young lady turned out talking to him. She was an East Ender, moved to Essex. They met and they moved to Merseyside. I said, well, what brought that? And he said, well, he just had a good gig at the time and they live on the Wirral. I said, well, that's a nice part, isn't it? So they was telling me all the ins and outs of that. She told me you could get more for your money up there, etc. It made sense. I asked him who he followed. He said Liverpool. So then we started talking about Klopp, and he said, I think he's ill. So I said, well, I think I disagree. If you're looking to read between the lines, veiled agendas, etc. Because he said we didn't have a very good year last year. And I said, yeah, but look at it this year. So what he's done is he's gone in, he's identified things, because I think for the first couple of 3 years they never won anything. He's identified areas: goalkeeper, centre back, more pace up front, midfield reinforced, certain way of playing. He's imposed all that on the club, and they've had huge success. Fantastic. Then this year, they're off to a flyer again. And I said that if they're looking for a veiled agenda, it might be the fact that he can't keep being, like I've said before about other managers, like I remember talking about Sean Dyche at Burnley, and he's currently performing another miracle at Everton after a 10-point deduction. Look where they'd be in the league with them 10 points, right? So he's currently doing it again, grinding out results. But sticking to the subject, right? I just said maybe with regards to players bought, players sold, I might be talking totally out of school here. When you look at it and you compare it to other clubs in the transfer market, I'm not sure. I think I might be right in saying that probably Liverpool are probably down the pecking order in terms of transfer budget or other budget. I don't know. I might be wrong. So maybe fourth or fifth, and they're currently top, right? So the point being, he might have gone, right, what can I expect? Or they might not have identified anybody. They don't really need anybody. They might have identified someone in January. They said, well, there's no money in January, or we don't want you to do business in January. Okay, what about the summer? Because he signed up until the summer. Maybe they've said to him, we're not going to renew your contract. It's time for a change. And then what's happened is they've allowed him. So you've got all these different things in the background, or it might just be what he said. He's going to tell you he'd be a multi-millionaire. And in my eyes, knowing what I know now, if I'd have known then what I know now, I didn't really take much notice, although I did make a sarcastic comment. Frank Clark said to me, "Sits, the game's about two things, money and medals." Well, he's got pocketfuls of both. So the bottom line is it might be time for him to say, you know, I'm going to take a year, 2 years out, like he said, just to be a normal human being, which when it first happened to me after 25 years in football at every level, it felt weird at first, but then you start to enjoy it, just being a normal person. Just all right, I had to get up and go to work every day in a different career, but he said he wants to do things, he wants to do other things that he hasn't been able to do. And I say, fair play to you. It's a fantastic move. It's a smart move. It's an intelligent move by an intelligent man. And he ain't the first. Guardiola did it, didn't he? He had a year in the States. They said someone bumped into him and he was sitting there having half a lager in a bar in New York. And then he comes back fresh as a daisy,
No,
does a bit in Germany, now he's at City, you know what I mean? So maybe it ain't such a bad thing. And there were people before him that I knew of in the coaching fraternity. They took a year off and they went round and they were doing what he said, I'm just going around. I remember Terry Burton. He said, I'm going around looking at sessions, doing a bit of cherry picking and taking ideas from this and ideas from that. So maybe there is no veiled agenda. It's just respect his decision and his wishes. He's been a magnificent addition to the Premier League. Love the way he's managed. Love the way he's conducted himself. Love the way he's been mischievous. Sense of humour, positive. Organised his teams. Coached great players or good players, made them great players, and won things. So maybe it's time for a rest, and then he'll come back. If you twisted my arm up me back, I'd say the ideal thing for that sort of thing now at his age, because you can dip in and out. Although you'll probably be on the phone every day, right? You will be on the phone, but in terms of like training camps and tournaments and qualification thing, probably the best thing for him is Germany national manager when he's had a couple of years rest.
Yeah, quite possibly. Like you
Unless
say,
he
you
goes,
can.
sorry, Rob, unless he goes for the Arab money,
Well,
because he said he ain't going, he won't manage another club in the Premier League. So that tells me he's going back to Germany. You know what I mean? He's, I don't see him somewhere like, I don't know. I don't see him somewhere like Italy. I don't see him somewhere like Spain, because
I tend to
He'll
believe
burn
him.
out quicker. He'll burn out
Yeah,
even quicker with all the media and the thing. It's very like packed in, isn't it? You're like they're like, it's very intense, even more intense than I think than the Premier League, because it's everything's neighbourhoods, isn't it? You know what I mean? Everything's provincial, and then in that
yeah.
thing that you can't even go shopping.
No. I would tend to believe on the Premier League thing. I think he's too. I think he's too invested in Liverpool to. I mean, yeah, who knows? You know, money talks, time's a great hero, etc. But I agree. I can't see him coming back to another Premier League club within a couple of years. Maybe national. Who knows? Hopefully, he doesn't take the Saudi dollar or whatever their currency is and follow his mate Jordan Henderson. He surely can't need it, but he's for sure. He's well up there in the Premier League managers. Is he up there in the best Liverpool managers in history? That's a good debate that's been had over the last few weeks. I mean, he had a few years, 2 or 3 years at the start where they didn't win anything, and then he won. I think he won the Champions League before the Premier League, didn't he? And he's won. So he won the Champions League, the Premier League. He's won the domestic cups. He's won the World Club, etc. He's done all right.
Yeah.
He's done very well, to be fair.
Well, you break it
Certainly
down.
compared to.
Yeah, even if he did, even if someone made him a ridiculous offer, he's not going to go to City, is he? I think Pep's in situ there probably as long as he wants it. Would he go? Where'd you go from Liverpool? You're moving
Yeah,
side. If you go to Arsenal, you're going sideways at best.
yeah. I think
Spurs,
maybe national, like you say, John.
yeah.
So, national club, or he's got the luxury of, like you say, he's probably got the luxury of being able to go. I'll have a couple of years off, or have a year off, or whatever, like Pep did, as you say.
Yeah.
Uh, who knows? Who knows? But
I can't see him when. Listen, when it's in your blood, unless he falls in love with a lifestyle outside of the game, right? When it's in your blood, I'd have strong money that he will resurface somewhere. He's not going to thing altogether. He's not going to drop out the game after a year's rest and say, I can't be bothered getting back in. I don't, you know what I mean? I can't see it. Once it's in your blood, it's in your blood. It's in your blood for life. You know what I mean? And then, someone like that would miss it too much.
yeah, I agree. We'll see. Maybe in a year or so's time. But on a similar note, Xavi, Barcelona manager, obviously Barcelona legend, not probably a week or two, maybe 2 weeks after Klopp announced he's going to leave Liverpool, he announced he's going to leave Barcelona at the end of the season and cited pressure, mental health, etc. Is it, unrealistic expectations on his part because he's a club legend and
Yeah. He's only been in it 2 minutes. I mean, a club like Barcelona as well, who've got their own church, haven't they, inside the ground? I mean, mental health and makes you do funny things, which it made me do funny things. Believe me. And I'm still at a crossroads whether to mention certain things, and it made me do very funny things, very weird things.
Save it for your second book, John.
Yeah. So I'm still at a thing whether I put it in or not. But the bottom line is, when you look at it, they've got a staff as big as a UN delegation. I don't see it. You know what I mean? I just think it's a cop out. Sorry. Real effect on your personality, your disposition, your mental health, your well-being, you know, your temper, your personality. Well, like I say, your disposition. Is, I think it's easier to find that at a club languishing in the bottom of the bottom division or close to the bottom division. You know, I don't see the top as, it's a different type of pressure. Inevitably, any coach or manager, the first pressure you have is the pressure you put on yourself to want to win, and you hate getting beat. And then, like with me, it manifested itself not very well. But I'd hazard a guess that it's two things: different type of pressure, but then you can be helped with that pressure by your surroundings. You know what I mean? It's years ago. I remember I got offered a good deal to go to Crystal Palace as a kid. I remember I went over there as a guest and watched the session, and Malcolm Allison had his top off. The sun was beating down, pair of shorts on, tennis socks with his football boots. Someone coaching over there, Terry Venables over there. He walks out and he just went like that. He said, "Look at this." He said, "We're getting paid for this." And I thought he summed it up quite well. And certain people like that, they could take things in their stride, you know. Timing wise, funny thing is, the guy I was talking to, the shout up on Merseyside is his favourite to take the Liverpool job. But then why would Liverpool want to appoint someone who the manager's left because of his perceived self-explanatory lack of energy, mental health, if that's the right phrase, just well-being, and then appoint a manager who's left his previous club for the same reasons? I don't get it. I wouldn't get it. You know what I mean? It's just, unless it's just an excuse to cop out, for him to say to Barcelona, like, I'm done end of the year, because things are going to fall in quite nicely as Jurgen departs. Contracts run to the 30th of June in football. And unless it's a loan one, obviously, but all the contracts I've known anyone signed, manager, coach, player, they've always ended on the 30th of June. So as one person leaves, it would be on the cards and fall just right for the guy who's left and who's favourite up on Merseyside, according to the guy I was talking to, and that's the one they're all thinking is going to be appointed. He's straight in, slips in. But then I can't see. I wouldn't understand why. If he's suffering from what you're saying he's suffering from, and that's the reasons he's given for leaving Barcelona. I don't get it. Anyway,
Yeah.
part of the merry-go-round.
Well, yeah, the good old managerial merry-go-round, and that carousel changes every few years who's on it. But one person who is currently on it, and I'm quite conscious of not going down the Chelsea the Chelsea rabbit warren that we will go down. We will discuss Chelsea. Mr. Mourinho removed from his job at Roma this month and is currently unemployed.
Yeah. So what's your point?
Well, obviously, I'm going to contradict myself slightly, but I'm going to talk about Chelsea now. Obviously, their recent results.
I'm telling you now. He's not. He's not a Liverpool man.
Well, no.
And
could he be back at Chelsea?
Yeah, I'll see where you're heading. If he was to come back to Chelsea, then I envisage another massive spending spree and another massive clear out. Well, it depends. Are they going to give him time to do that? In which case, all you're doing is you're just shuffling the cards. You're shuffling the pack. You know what I mean? It's it's a bit retrograde. It'll be third time now. Now I don't see it. Look, he's won everything in the game. Yeah, I mean,
don't think that.
maybe he should be thinking along the lines of national manager for Portugal, because I think he's run his thread. He performed minor miracles where he was at Roma. At the end of the day, if he achieves anything there with all the other big guns, your ACs, your Inters, Juventus, etc., if he can leapfrog them, then it would have been one of the greatest achievements in his managerial career. But funny, a couple of things I was reading, he was very comfortable. He seemed very comfortable. He was seemed very well liked, and he didn't see it coming. But it just goes to show you there's a few results. But he might have put a few noses out of joint, because that's what he does. He wears big enough boots now to be able to say what he thinks, instead of getting yourself in what I should have done, get yourself in a position of power first. Then you can start calling the shots and shouting the odds. What he's through his achievements, he's given himself a platform. He probably placed demands on people because he's not happy, because he's a winner. And maybe they didn't like the demands, and then that's only going to go one way.
No, absolutely. I personally don't subscribe to the get Mourinho back. I know it's a heart rather than a head for me. I love Mourinho. I love him. I think he's tremendous for various reasons. But yeah, and anyway, we will discuss.
You could
Chelsea.
listen. Don't matter if you get Mourinho. You could get one of the guys we interact with. You get Chelsea down there. You know what I mean? It don't matter who you get there. They need a complete back five if they're going to play that system. If not, they need a back four. Then you need decent people behind them to push them for their places, right? So you probably need duplicate in each position. Certain people have shot their bolt, or the supporters sing their praises, right? They've shot their bolt. Others are just not good enough. Midfield, there's very little creativity other than when he goes on a mazy. Sterling, but then that's what I saw yesterday with Gallagher, Palmer, overindulgent. So going on the point I was mentioning earlier, sometimes in trying to make things better, you can overdo things, right? You can see where they've got people like Palmer and Gallagher. What I'm looking at it from a coach's point of view, not just a teammate point of view. They end up they're trying to change things. They're trying to manifest something positive happening. They're trying to help. They're trying to dig them out, right? And in the end, they become overindulgent. And what I saw most noticeably, one of the most noticeable things for quite a few games, but most certainly yesterday after the defeat out on the Wolves, they never moved the ball quick enough. Never ever looked dangerous. And too many players are overindulgent. And like I said, there's no focal point up front. So basically, you need a complete new team, and unless there's people there, well, there are people there I don't know about, because I don't follow it. I don't know. I don't get programs and see who's coming up in the youth and the reserve. But you're back to when I was there, where you had a not very good first team, and then players coming in either like me out of their depth because they've thrown in too early and they're thrown under a bus, and 12 games out of good games out of 14 is not good enough, so you're shown the door. And as a consequence, the rest of the reserves coming through, they're not challenging for a first team place. So you've got no competition for places. And what I see there is a cult. I see a cult that's in a rut. And that was used when I was there. We got hammered at Highbury. And then in a return, everyone played much better. Although I didn't play bad that day, but we got hammered at Highbury. And I remember Ronnie Harris, he said, there's no two ways about it. The place is in a rut. The club's in a rut.
He's about right now, then, isn't he?
And that's how it is now. It's in a rut. And then like I said before, I was a bit harsh. People might said I was a bit harsh. I don't think I am harsh. I don't think I was harsh. You know, I was told, so if it's good enough for me, it's good enough for any of them. You know what you're taking on when you go in. You know that the chairman's had his pants pulled down. Certain players have been massively over. I mean, look at the mistake yesterday. I want more. I want more from £100 million midfield player. They must be laughing all the way to the nationwide, Brighton. When you look at the mistake for one of the goals.
Caicedo,
Caicedo, however you say his name. Yeah, just basic. You know, he's come off at the wrong angle. Then if he's in trouble, he's just got to rock it on. But he's tried to pull it down, had it pinched. But he didn't come. He didn't come at a good enough angle to receive the ball in the first place. You're better off overdoing it and doing the extra work to give yourself the extra yard and half, 2 yards. You know what I mean? But they were waiting and they pounced on him. And then every single aspect of their defensive play, they just could not handle the pace. And you see Wolves, they say, you know what? This is how Chelsea play. This is more or less how they've always played for the last few years, even under Tuchel and Frank, with regards to what I said. And they exploited the space left in behind, most notably on Chelsea's right. Wolves left, you look at the pace on the guy. And they got roasted.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on. Hopefully, we're going to do another one this evening. We'll move on to a little bit of analysis of the league at the weekend. But there's just to sort of link this one in. We've got a few minutes left. I said my little bit about Mourinho, and there's a lot of noise amongst certain Chelsea fans about get Jose back, this, that, and the other, and get rid of Pochettino. But like you say,
the only thing I've heard about Pochettino,
what are you going to achieve?
He's got his staff around him, and that might be it. Is you get in situ as a manager, and then once you're known as a manager, you're a manager, right? Dario Gradi said it to me, right? He said you're better off being known as a coach, because if you want to, you will always work as a coach. You won't always work as a manager. You won't always find work and get work as a manager, but you should be able to find and get work anywhere in the world as a coach, right? Now the bottom line is, all I've heard from his time at Spurs, he was a nice guy.
That's what I was going to say to you.
From Harry's dad. Now, family parties, barbecues, Christmas do's that we all used to congregate. And then I said, so what's the secret? Because I said, look, I predict it'll implode, and it came true. I said, because he ain't going to get the money he wants to invest in the team. And his message will go stale. And they can't keep relying on your boy, and they can't keep relying on Harry. Latter day, it's funny. Other people have taken more responsibility, but at the time, it didn't seem to be the case. I said, so what's he got going? He said, well, like Charlie will come, which is his other son. He'll come through because he's got a meeting with his brother. He'll say, excuse me, to his staff, and he'll get up and he'll go, and or whoever it is who's come through the door, he'll go and he'll make a fuss of them. He'll say hello, he'll shake hands, and he'll make them welcome, etc., etc. And then he waits at the door every morning when the players come in training, shakes hands, says good morning, Maybe that's not what.
Doesn't seem to be what they need at the moment, does it? I mean,
it's not really what's required at the moment. It's not really what's needed. I'm looking at it, I'm thinking to myself, is that really, you know what I mean? Which is where you see the Jose argument. Maybe just get some, like I said earlier, organised, fit, motivated. At the moment, it looks like 11 just different components rather than a team. And the bottom line is maybe get someone in who can grind out a few 1-0s.
We will see. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
Just, like I say, we've got literally a couple of minutes left on this little recording. A positive for Chelsea. I'll take it as a positive. As a Londoner, hopefully you will. Subject to the replay, they are the only London club currently left in the FA Cup. Circling back to what we started the episode with Maidstone, they are, subject to the replay, the only London club left in, and it's round. Well, it's not even round 5. They've got to negotiate a round 4 replay.
Yeah,
that's obviously not great really not good for London clubs.
No, it's terrible. But I think, I don't know if I'm right in saying, first podcast at the start of the season, I said I think all the silverware is going to go northwest. You
did,
and that's I still think that's the case, even with Chelsea still in the cup.
Might not be that far northwest. Could be Northwest Midlands. Well, we moved into our last little minute of this episode. So rather than cut us off on our prime,
we'll thank those that have tuned in.
Absolutely,
and look forward to seeing you in part 2.